The fear and shame of asking who my father is, or wanting to have the answer to that question, or saying just like you did so beautifully, I wish I had that. This is how our minds can create stories that aren't reality. You know why? Because we don't have facts, and we don't have information, and we don't have the truth. This is a story this is what his doubt is based on. Were you with someone else?
She admitted she cheated on me that night. She was so messed up and partying all night, I'm guessing she didn't understand or remember that.
Ms. Owens is quite furious today. After having a beautiful teenage romance with Mr. Raines, she's kind of regretting the entire thing. Today, Mr. Raines claims that despite having a fairy tale romance with Ms. Owens, he's more than certain that he isn't the father of her child. Ms. Owens says this is news to her.
Ms. Owens, you say that after a whirlwind teenage romance and a brief marriage to Mr. Raines, he got you pregnant and then left you high and dry to raise your daughter, Jamie, on your own. You say the defendant is fully aware he is your daughter's father, and you intend to prove this today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lauren asks Ms. Owens why a man she claims she was deeply in love with when she was younger would abandon her and her baby without looking back. She says that Mr. Raines was a man who constantly lied to her, and to make things worse, he would cheat on her with other women.
Because he was a lying, cheating piece of trash.
Oh, say how you really feel. Explain.
I was actually 2 to 3 weeks pregnant when I went back to live with my parents when he left me. This is after him and 2 of his friends had come home about 1 o'clock in the morning with 3 girls.
After Ms. Owens calls him a cheat and states her reasons why, the judge asks Mr. Raines if he was a cheat while they were in a relationship. His reply leaves the courtroom speechless. He says he wasn't sure and that there was a chance he could have been cheating and also not be cheating. From that reply, you can see there is some truth to what Ms. Owens is saying.
Were you cheating, Mr. Raines?
Maybe.
I was young back in those days. We were off and on. We were young, off and on, off and on. She got pregnant initially, and I married her because I was trying to do the right thing. She wanted to have a miscarriage. Again, after that, off and on, off and on, off and on. I got tired of it. It got old. And so she always wanted to go back home, so.
After finding out that her husband had been cheating, the same question was directed to Ms. Owens. She claims the only man she was in bed with at the time was Mr. Raines. As you would expect, Mr. Raines says that was a lie, and he knew she had other men she had been seeing. He claims the timeline in which Ms. Owens' daughter was conceived does not add up.
So you felt like your husband was cheating. I have to ask you, were you cheating too?
No, ma'am, I sure wasn't.
I don't know about that.
What makes you believe she was cheating, Mr. Raines?
She went home awful lot. It's just hard to believe, for me to believe that she was not cheating. I mean, again, here we are in court today over a child that's 27 years old, and the timeline don't add up.
Aside from saying that the timeline in which she conceived her child didn't add up, he also says that he wasn't around when she claimed to have been pregnant. But Ms. Owens insists that he's lying. She says when she was 7 months pregnant, Mr. Raines wrote to her saying that she wasn't pregnant, and it was all in her head. He then told her that even if she was pregnant, the child could not be his. Looks like he really doesn't want to be a father.
That's when I got pregnant. I got a letter from him, Your Honor, when I was 7 months pregnant, out to here, and he said, "You are not pregnant, it's all in your head. If you are pregnant, it is not mine. Do not give that baby my last name, and do not put me on the birth certificate."
No.
When Ms. Owens had her baby, she did not inform Mr. Raines. She tells the judge that once upon a time, she was so in love with Mr. Raines that she was willing to do anything he asked her to do. But when he started to treat her badly, all the love she had for him turned into hate, and that's why she didn't want him around her and her child when she gave birth in the hospital.
I did not want him around. I loved him so much when we got together that I would have done anything for him. And that love turned to pure hate. And I hated him as much as I loved him.
And the truth is hate really is just another form of love. When you hate somebody.
The story Mr. Raines is telling the judge no longer sounds accurate. He goes on to say that he got a letter stating that he had to pay child support for Ms. Owens' baby. He claims that some of his family members told him that the baby looked like him, so it was only right that he did the right thing and paid the child support bills. For some reason, the story sounds quite dubious.
You know, I had family saying she looks like you and stuff, and I just thought I was doing the right thing, Your Honor. It was not easy with Miss Clara to try to even see her, to have a relationship with her.
Mr. Raines, hold on, it's even getting more confusing because you are here in court today asserting that you are not
That's right.
Ms. Rose's biological father.
That's her fault.
And yet throughout her life, But throughout her life.
Apparently, Mr. Raines is not the only one who wasn't being truthful in the courtroom. Ms. Owens has left out some very vital information that was critical to solving the case. Ms. Owens had actually had conversation with her daughter where she mentioned that there was a chance that Mr. Raines might not be her biological father and that it could, in fact, be someone else.
In everything that you've said thus far in this courtroom, you left out that one very important conversation. So you did tell her that someone else could be her biological father.
I said there's a possibility.
So
I was already pregnant and did not know it.
You did, okay, whatever.
She was due the 18th of July.
There was only one way forward to determine who has been lying and who had been telling the truth. The DNA results were in, and it's time to see who the real father of the child was.
Mr. Raines, you are the father. You are her father.
I'm glad. I tried to be a father to her, Your Honor.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
Ms. Fisher claims that her second child definitely belongs to Mr. Meyer. She says Mr. Meyer abandoned her and is now demanding being the father of her second child after fathering her first. Mr. Meyer says he's confident that he isn't the child's father because he knows that Ms. Meyer had intimate relationships with other men while they were together.
Ms. Fisher, you say you thought you found the perfect older man to start a relationship and family with, but after having your first child and getting pregnant again, you claim he abandoned you and denied he fathered your second child, Xavier. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Meyer, you contend Ms. Fisher was a serial cheater who had numerous liaisons with different men during your relationship.
Now, after Ms. Fisher and Mr. Meyer had their first son together, they started to live together for about 3 years. Around the 4th year, Ms. Fisher found out she was going to be pregnant with another child, and she informed Mr. Meyer. As soon as she told him, he decided he didn't want to have anything to do with Ms. Fisher and disappeared into the air.
After having our first son together, we lived together for about 3 years. We found out that after the new year we were going to have a second son. Him knowing that, he decided he didn't want anything to do with me. I ended up living with another family member, just to better our lives. We were doing a switch off, back and forth, watching our son together, and after that we got into a lot of disagreements, just arguing a lot.
Mr. Meyer claims that he knew that Ms. Fisher was having several men in his house. He goes on to give instances where he would come home, would find some of his things wrongly placed, and in extreme cases, find several people on his bed.
She's cheated on me multiple times. I came home, I found my mattress flipped over. I came home, I found multiple people in my bedroom.
I want to be clear too, you all were in a relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say this is your second child, right, Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
So you have an older child.
Yes, I have a 3-year-old son who is almost 4 years old this year.
It is time to go down memory lane, and Mr. Meyer was asked how he reacted when Ms. Fisher told him she was pregnant with his child. He already had his doubts from the onset that the baby may not have been his. The doubts about the baby and the fact that he knew she had been sleeping with other men were driving them apart.
She explained to me and told me she was pregnant. At the time before that, we were kind of on and off. We were fighting constantly. I don't think we were really together at that time. I know she was with other guys. I really didn't think the kid was mine at all. There was a chance the kid was mine. The dates didn't add up when she told me. She constantly changed her due dates. Nothing made sense. It added up.
These two continue to argue at the top of their voices, throwing accusations right and left. Judge Lauren decides to step in and asks Mr. Meyer if he has any proof of the accusations he has leveled against Ms. Fisher. Mr. Fisher says the only proof he has is that one of his neighbors once told him that they had seen a guy jump out of the window of his house when he got back from work.
As I said, all right, my neighbor told me some guys crawled out the window. Who was that? Who crawled out the window?
I would like to know myself.
Oh, well, you were there, obviously. I mean, the thing that you made it up.
Wait a minute, your neighbor told you someone was crawling?
My neighbor said, hey, is your house broken into? I'm like, I don't know, I can go check. I don't think, why would my house be broken? He said, I seen somebody crawling out of your window. I said, really? So I go run to my house. Nothing's gone or nothing like that.
The window situation wasn't the only piece of evidence he has for Judge Lauren. He goes on to mention another situation that indicates Ms. Meyer had been with another man. One time when he was feeling a bit sick and under the weather, he called Ms. Fisher to come pick him up from work, but for some reason, he couldn't get a hold of her. By the time she arrived to pick him up, he claimed he could see bodily fluids that indicated she had just finished having intercourse with someone.
I'm calling and calling and calling. She doesn't answer the phone. I'm upset. I start walking. She comes to pick me up. She's clearly had sex with somebody.
Clearly?
Yes, visibly. She had something in her hair. It was not gel and it was not shampoo.
Okay. You believe there were bodily fluids in her
Yes.
hair?
For use of better words, yes.
I mean, we haven't heard that testimony.
In Ms. Fisher's defense, she says that Mr. Meyer was one of those men who knew how to make up things in his imagination. He was going to say and do anything just so he wouldn't have to take responsibility as the father of his children. She goes on to give multiple situations where Mr. Meyer denied being the father of the baby.
He didn't want to show up to the birth for Xavier. He didn't want to sign the birth certificate, which forced me to give my second son my last name after his first son has his last name.
Find his real father.
1 month later, I show up to his doorstep after I honked outside, come outside, take the baby out of the car. I physically make this man hold his own child for the first time, thinking that hopefully he would feel some sort of guilt in his heart.
The atmosphere is getting too heated for the tantrums that were coming from both sides. The only thing that could smooth the air was the DNA results.
Mr. Meyer, you are the father.
You have anything you would like to say to your son?
I just feel terrible right now, and I will be taking care of him.
Would it be okay if he saw Xavier in my chambers?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Meyer, would you like to hold your son?
Yes, please.
There was a lot of emotion tied to this particular case. Miss Stockley is in court because she felt so much guilt and it had started to get to her heart. She claimed the guilt was there as a result of her claiming the wrong man to be her daughter's biological father for over 23 years. She wants to correct her deeds from the past, and she's hoping the new man she believes to be her father will accept her daughter with open arms.
Stokely, you say you feel pain and guilt in your heart for claiming the wrong man was your daughter, Waikia's biological father, for the past 23 years. You are here to right your wrong and now prove to the defendant that he is her dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Tucker, you and your daughter Candace say there is no way today's DNA will reveal.
Judge Lauren goes straight to Ms. Stockley's daughter and asks her how she first heard about Mr. Tucker, who her mother is now claiming to be her real dad. She says she had known about his name for as long as she could remember. In her case, she had always known there was a possibility that another man could be her father, but she never knew who it could be.
Well, as long as I could remember, I always heard about Mr. Tucker. I always heard that it was a possibility that another guy might be my father. Even before I knew what a possibility was, this how long ago this was. All my life, I heard about this guy.
Well, I always knew Mr. Tucker could have been Waikia's father. At the time, I was in a relationship with my ex that was living with me, but I always knew he could have been her father.
Mrs. Stockley's daughter claims she could remember back when she was just 8 years old when she met Mr. Tucker, but at the time she didn't know who he was. All she could remember was that he told her his name and gave her some money. But as soon as she saw him in the courtroom, she felt in her heart that Mr. Tucker was her father. She didn't want to get too emotional, but you could see it in her eyes.
When you see him, do you remember him being the guy from when you were 8 years old?
No, I don't.
You don't? So you've bumped into him again now and you're just talking to him?
No, I actually felt it when I came in the door. When I seen him sitting there and we started talking, and it's my father. And I felt it the whole, well, I don't want to get too.
Well, Mr. Tucker had another daughter, and she was with him in the courtroom. She claims she knew about Ms. Stockley's daughter when she was 8 years old, but was too young to make sense of what her daddy told her. What she couldn't wrap her head around was why Ms. Stockley waited 23 years to tell Mr. Tucker that he had a daughter.
Completely confused. My whole thing is, I did hear about her when she was 8. I was with my dad at that time, and then I did meet her again, but it's just like, she's saying that she's so sure that this is my dad's child, but why wait 23 years? And like, it's basically like I will miss out on the whole sister. I've been around all my other sisters and brothers.
Do you believe that Miss Stokely is your sister?
No, because my dad, he loved his children, and if he had a possible child.
So how did we even get here? Ms. Stokely claims that she had been living with her ex-boyfriend for some time. When she wanted to move out, she was held back by a snowstorm and got stuck with Mr. Tucker. And just like that, they got intimate with each other. It must have been one cozy snowstorm.
I wasn't sure. I got stuck in a snowstorm with Mr. Tucker.
Okay.
And I had sex with both males, but I don't know if I went in the snowstorm pregnant. I got pregnant in the
Or if
snowstorm.
you came out of the snowstorm
I'm
pregnant.
not sure. Yes, Your Honor. I'm not sure how I went in.
Okay, but the bottom line is that's when you were with Mr. Tucker.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Tucker, do you remember this snowstorm?
Yes, I do.
After doing the math, the window of conception showed that there was a chance that Mr. Tucker could actually be the father of Ms. Stockley's child. But the problem now was that Mr. Tucker wasn't the only one she was sleeping with. Like she said, she was living with her ex-boyfriend at the time, and she was also very intimate with him.
Were you with any other men during that time?
Yes, I was, Your Honor. I was with my ex that was my boyfriend at the time.
Okay, wait. So if the window points to Mr. Tucker, then why wouldn't you tell him that he potentially had a beautiful daughter before a couple months ago?
Well, but when I was pregnant with Wakia, after I had Wakia, we all live in the same neighborhood. I seen Mr. Tucker many a time.
Another revelation popped up in the courtroom. Miss Stockley never told Mr. Tucker that he could be the father to her child, even though she was always seeing him in passing. But she mentioned the fact that when she was in Mr. Tucker's neighborhood, his family relatives would always refer to her daughter as their niece, asking where she was and that they wanted to see her.
See him like in passing, because like I said, he would come to my neighborhood, I would go to his neighborhood, I still had an auntie live on his block. His sisters, they would say to me, where my niece at, where my little niece at, where my niece at?
His family members would say, where my little niece at?
Yes.
No, Your Honor, her mom, her friends, everybody in her neighborhood, when I be going to work, they was like, Willie, Zakia,
Wakia.
The courtroom has seen enough of Mr. Tucker and Ms. Stokely's drama about who the biological father of her daughter is. It is finally time to reveal the truth and put an end to the endless argument.
Mr. Tucker, you are the father.
All right.
This is why I wake up in the morning and I cannot wait to come, because I want you to stand in this courtroom and I want you to point at Wakia. And I want you to say the line.
In this particular situation, it was honestly very difficult to tell if she had no shame or if she was just very wicked, because she definitely took things to an extreme level. Ms. Davis appeared in court because she claimed she was hurt by Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole didn't deny the fact that he initially accepted being the father of the child, but he uncovered too many facts that just couldn't allow him to keep claiming paternity.
Ms. Davis, you say that after accepting your daughter Autumn, Mr. Cole abruptly ended your relationship, moved out of your home, and is now denying her. You say Mr. Cole is the only man who could be Autumn's father, and you intend to prove paternity today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Cole, you admit to initially accepting Autumn as yours and even signing her birth certificate.
Ms. Davis couldn't understand why the man who accepted her and her baby was willing to be the father all of a sudden started to deny her and her baby. Looks like there's some serious trouble in paradise, if you ask me. She wasn't just hurt by the situation, she also claimed that Mr. Cole was the only man she was intimate with throughout the period. They were in a romantic relationship, at least so she claimed.
Disappointed how he all of a sudden not claiming my daughter. He is the only man that I've been with since February.
So, Mr. Cole, you're not claiming the baby? You don't think it's yours?
Yes, I claim the baby. I still take care of the baby. And
You do?
yes, anything she asks for, I do for the baby.
But you deny that you are her biological father.
I'm just questioning right now because ever since I met her,
From the look in Mr. Cole's eyes, you could tell that he had been through so much in the relationship. Ms. Davis claimed that they met at a basketball game, and things kicked off from that point on. She found out she was pregnant, and it was like a dream come through for both of them. But nothing good ever lasts forever, right?
These numbers, and we had chill a couple times.
So you continue this relationship, and at some point you find out you're pregnant?
Yes, ma'am. After me and Adrian have sex a couple times in February, I have found out I was pregnant March 21st. I was 4 weeks pregnant.
All right, I want to understand this.
And
You submitted a calendar to the court
yes, I also have a calendar.
that outlined your sexual relationship with Mr. Cole.
When Mr. Cole heard the news about Ms. Davis being pregnant, he was excited and didn't doubt the paternity of the child. But the story took a different turn, and it was no longer looking pretty. Mr. Cole claimed that while she was just 4 weeks pregnant, random people started to walk up to him and ask him if he was certain that the baby she was pregnant with was his.
like a week later, and someone walked up to me. She wasn't even pregnant that long, and people were walking up to me saying that the baby might not be mine.
Oh.
And then after a guy wrote her in her messages and was mad that she was pregnant. He wrote her right after she told me she was pregnant.
This text had come through where this man was mad because she didn't tell him and it could be his baby.
Yes.
Secrets can never really stay hidden, especially when you find yourself sitting in the courtroom with Judge Lauren. Mr. Cole found out that she had been intimate with another guy and that the guy in question was very upset mad that Ms. Davis was pregnant and didn't tell him. As you would expect, Mr. Cole confronted her about the situation, and she denied it.
Or asking her questions about the guy, she didn't give me any credible answers that I could believe. So I was really having doubts, and I wanted to go get a DNA test myself, but I couldn't really get one.
You couldn't get the DNA test?
They wouldn't let me because I had signed the birth certificate.
Okay, so that's what I want to get to. So, Ms. Davis, once you tell Mr. Cole you're pregnant, initially he accepts it.
Yes.
So you all are going through the process of having a baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he's present?
Mr. Cole's doubt had flown up to the roof, especially when he found out that Ms. Davis was no longer trustworthy. His family even tried to convince him that he has no reason to Donut being the father because the child looks just like him, and so he accepts the baby as his. Ms. Davis then uploads a picture of her child, and the guy who texted her before then says the child looks like one of his kids.
Picture on one of her social medias, the same guy who wrote her when she first got pregnant writes her again and says, "Your daughter looks like my kids."
Really?
Yes, Your Honor. I did that because, like he said, people was coming up to him and asking him was Adam his, and I just did a split image of those three and was asking the same people who does Adam look like more, because I'm 100% sure that Adrian is the father of Adam.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty. Mr. Dansby's emotions were juggling between love for the baby and the fear of a plot twist. Time to see what the future holds for them.
Mr. Cole, you are not the father. Ms. Davis, would you like to finally just lay it on the line and tell the truth?
It hurts. It's embarrassing. I thought he was the father.
This is one of these defining moments in your life, right?
Right.
From this moment forward, you can learn.
Mr. Jones wasn't here to beat around the bush. Oh, trust me, he was as furious as an angry bull that saw a red cloth. From the very beginning, he already believed that there was no way on earth that he could be the biological father. Ms. Turner was beyond desperate to prove to the courtroom that there was only one man who could have fathered her child, and that man was Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, you state you have always believed you are not the father of the defendant's 5-month-old son, Amir. You claim your suspicions were confirmed after receiving a text message just 3 weeks ago. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Turner, you say you are desperate to prove the plaintiff is Amir's father and claim once today's results prove paternity, you need him.
As much as he wanted and was willing to be the father of the child, the doubts in his head were moving like a troubled sea. I mean, it's not like he was just talking out of his imagination. He had proof to show that his doubts were actually validated. He claimed he came across a text message that sent him shockwaves, which made him look at Ms. Turner with a second eye.
3 weeks ago, I received this text message.
What text message is that?
It's from message from Facebook, from somebody I don't even know.
Jerome, let me see that evidence. You say just 3 weeks ago,
Yes, Your Honor.
you get this message.
Yes, Your Honor.
And this message says, why you claiming that baby? Men running in and out of her house. Get a DNA test. Don't be a fool. That is not the message you want to get.
Mr. Jones decided to confront Ms. Turner about the message he got. In Ms. Turner's defense, she claimed she had no idea who sent him such a text, but one thing she was sure about was the fact that there were a lot of people who were jealous of their relationship, both from the male and female aspects.
I don't know who that is, but like I told him, he got so many females. We do got people that's some haters, so it could be a little fake page.
Oh, wait a minute. You said haters?
Yes.
So you think it's a hater just texting him at 12:59 a.m.?
I know for a fact it's a little hater, because I don't even know who the person is. So they made it a little fake page.
It was a male, Your Honor.
So who is the hater that writes?
Now, their relationship was what I'd like to call beautiful, but the moment she found out she was pregnant, it was a totally different story. After seeing that text, it was just from one doubt to the next. Guess what? Mr. Jones found another text on his phone, and this time around it was worse than the one he saw before. He found a text from their neighbor asking if he could come around while he was gone.
He had texted her one day when I went to work, like 6 in the morning, right after I left for work, trying to come over.
Trying to come over?
Yeah.
Come over for what?
That's what I'm trying to know. Seen a text message in her phone saying, "Are you okay, sis?" And I'm like, this number is not from any of your brothers. I'm like, who is this? She broke down, got to crying and told me, yes, it was the neighbor. She told me it was the neighbor.
I was crying.
That wasn't the first time something like that was happening in their relationship. Mr. Jones gave an instance where they were sleeping in bed around 4 a.m. and this guy was blowing up Ms. Turner's phone with calls. Now, come on, Ms. Turner, why would your neighbor be calling you at 4 in the morning?
Well, I
Stop
called
calling
bro,
her
he
phone.
think it be going down.
This came from the same guy I told to quit calling her phone once before at
That's
4 in
'cause
the
he feel
morning.
some type
It
of
was
way
4 in
about
the morning.
everybody.
He had no reason calling her phone and y'all just cool
It
like
wasn't
that.
no 4 in the morning. It was 7
4 in the
o'clock
morning?
in the morning.
Nah, when he texted your phone.
And he hit my
and I
phone
had
up
to
because
check
yes,
it.
he seen
And I
your
had to
leads.
check it.
Everybody already know they can't talk to me with Ricky.
Yeah.
I can't have
Ain't
no
no
neighbor
talking
to be
at that
cool
time
with
of night
neighbor.
with my girl.
But what does the neighbor want all these times in the morning at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Ms. Turner had some truth bombs of her own. She wanted to drop in the courtroom. Oh boy, was she angry when she started to talk about Mr. Jones's escapades with other women. She claimed he had other women he was texting in his DMs. Aside from that, he stopped giving her the attention she wanted. So she decided to send one of her ex-boyfriends a sweet good morning text.
This is all the time, same time.
Oh, okay, so
He'll come to my job and chill with me for a little bit. Then he'll be like, oh, I'm about to go home and lay down. But he going somewhere else. He making little detours
Who else was
over
chilling with
somebody
you at your
else's
job?
house.
Who else was chilling
That's
at
the
you at your
problem.
job?
So since he want to go out and talk to somebody else, so yeah, I got to hit my ex up like, good morning.
But you
Why would
love
I
him.
tell you good morning?
But you love him.
oh,
You still love
He
him.
didn't deserve that no more.
Judge Lauren had seen enough of the lies and disloyalty that had been going on in Mr. Jones and Ms. Turner's relationship. It's finally time to reveal the truth and clear the doubts that were flying about in the courtroom. Who do you think the father of the child is?
Mr. Jones, you are the father.
Thank you. You feel better?
That don't mean all that.
You feel, no, it do. It
It
do.
just mean the baby mine.
Well, listen.
It do.
Listen. Let's not go back down negative roads.
I'm sorry.
I mean, that's what drives me crazy. We get off a negative road.
This almost felt like betrayal on Mr. Patterson's path after taking care of the baby and making sure he was present every day of the kid's life. Well, guess what? Ms. Knight wakes up one morning and says he isn't the father of her baby. We're about to dive into a tale of delusion. Grab your pie and enjoy the ride because the things you're going to hear in this case are going to leave you speechless.
Mr. Patterson, you opened your case today to prove that you are 4-year-old DeMarcus Patterson Jr.'s biological father. You named him and have cared for your junior since birth and are furious the defendant now claims another man is his father. Is this correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Knight, you testify that even though your son has Mr. Patterson's name,
We are about to enter the domain of questionable romance, where these guys' relationship wasn't exactly a fairy tale, a saga involving 2 men, a lady, and a 4-year-old boy. Mr. Patterson had been in the child's life since the very first day, and all of a sudden Ms. Knight starts to claim that another man is the father of the child. Can you imagine that? I mean, the real question is, how did all that come to be?
I've been there since birth, since he came out the womb, since he entered this world. When the doctor first, held him up and finally gave him to him, I witnessed him just completely quit crying and looked me dead in my eyes. And that's when, at that moment, I knew I became someone's father. So at that moment, like all the doubts that we had before, I just knew like they were just out the window and just, it was gonna leave us a happy family, but
it didn't happen that way.
Not exactly.
And when that baby came,
Well, the doubts and reservations were running pretty deep over here. Mr. Patterson went on a long rant explaining why he had his doubts, and boy did he bag some solid points. Ms. Knight, for no reason, decided she didn't want to be with him anymore and ghosted without leaving a trace of her to reach her. In her defense, she claimed her reason for leaving was because Mr. Patterson cheated on her and she just couldn't forgive him.
I ain't hear from her for a month or two.
so wait,
She was
you're
just-
saying she just left the house and you didn't hear from her for a month or two?
Yeah, I was supposed to pick up from work, but my grandma made me feel worse about it because she was like, she knew she was too fast for me anyway. I'm just going by what
So
we
Ms.
both
Knight,
know.
where did you go? What is
Never-
going on here?
I decided to leave because I wasn't over the fact that he cheated on me with this female. So yeah, I did that. But I found out I was pregnant while I was with Ladarius.
Okay, I
Right
want to
now.
go step by step because I want to understand.
Things started to take a different turn as the truth started to unfold. Still carrying the thought that Mr. Patterson cheated on her while she was kicking it in bed with the new man she moved in with. She told him that if he liked, he could get her pregnant. Trust me, Ms. Knight was one hell of a woman. Some way Ms. Knight and Mr. Patterson were able to amend things and get back together. But there was no denying the possibility that this baby could possibly belong to another man.
I told him, go ahead and get me pregnant. That's what I told him. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I called DeMarcus and let DeMarcus know. I'm pregnant right now, and it's a possibility that it's Ladarius' baby or your baby. DeMarcus told me to come home.
So
I
you
gave
got
birth.
back together with Mr. Patterson.
Because me and Ladarius were like oil and water, and we could not do it. So I told and begged DeMarcus. I didn't beg him. I said, DeMarcus, come get me. And DeMarcus pulled up in the car and was like, where's your stuff? He carried my stuff on his back and got in the car, and we went on about our way.
Accusations start flying about the courtroom like it's a competition. They go on making a fuss about what to name the baby. It turns into a whole charade, and no one can make any sense of what's going on. Ms. Knight told the courtroom that when the baby was born, Mr. Patterson looked the baby in the eye and said the baby looked exactly like him, and therefore was going to name the child after him.
The baby in the eyes, I was like, dang, he just completely just be quiet, just quit crying, everything like he was at peace. And I looked at him, and that's when the doctors left the room. She was like, what name should we give him? I was like, I don't know. She said I always wanted a junior, and I was like, you'll do that? And then that's when the name came about, DeMarcus Latarius Patterson Jr.
Well, when you tell this woman I've always wanted a junior.
He ain't say that.
I ain't really get to pick the name, because remember, it's always up to the woman to pick the name.
Please.
You don't pick whatever.
DeMarcus said, I don't care what you think, this is my baby.
There's a whole lot of craziness going on right now. As things Judge Lauren starts to dig a little deeper, she starts to find out the most shocking things. And when I say shocking, trust me, your jaws are going to drop. Apparently, both Mr. Patterson and Ms. Knight were open about the fact that the baby could be the man she was messing with. They even agreed that there were several occasions where they joked about it. Now, could you imagine that?
Oh, so you all were open about this?
Yes, we always open. We would take rides to the gas station. He'd show me pictures of Ladarius, like, you sure this ain't that? You sure this ain't
I ain't gonna lie, first
And we
I was
were
like,
open
hold
about
up.
it, all very open about it.
I started seeing his ears slant out, and I was like, hold up, you know? Just like, I don't know, though.
But he's 4 now.
He's 4
Right.
now, so I look at
And
it
the
now.
conversation about DNA tests this is not the first time I brought it up. I done set appointments. No one wants to help me with half the payment.
I help
So
with that. Now, it's just, I know you
when?
evil.
Their stories stopped to make sense and add up. It sounded like it was being made up, and Judge Lauren just wasn't having it anymore. It was getting really hard to believe or determine who was being honest in the courtroom, and one thing was for sure, Judge Lauren wasn't going to be made a fool of.
we are a big happy family. I don't know why you
Yes,
pretend.
sir, but-
Oh, so this is a whole village.
Hey, to be honest,
No, I'm
though,
serious.
hey,
We eat as a family and all.
All of you all
Right.
together.
We never had no problem. The reason why in my head I strongly wanted DeMarcus to be the biological father was because they told me I got pregnant August 28th through the 2nd, or the 3rd of September. I was with DeMarcus August 28th, but by the 2nd of September, I was with Ladarius, so I didn't know.
It was finally time to hear from the other men, because Judge Lauren needed to hear all the sides of the story. Now, this is where it all gets really messed up. When I say messed up, I mean really, really messed up. The 4-year-old boy calls both men daddy. How does a kid call 2 different men daddy? This really is a baby daddy war.
He do look at both of us like fathers.
Does he call you daddy too?
Yes, ma'am.
So the child is calling 2 men daddy.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. DeMarcus, I don't care how he acted. After this, when you find out he ain't the daddy, he ain't going nowhere.
You think that, man.
Listen, I want to know from Mr. Sigler, what are your hopes, sir? Do you hope DeMarcus Jr. is your biological child?
The love that I have for him is the same love that he has for me. I know one thing about this young man.
Hold your breath now, because the DNA test results are ready to be revealed. The tension was escalating with emotions running high, and the truth was about to hit like a plot twist. Who's the real baby daddy? Let's see.
The biological father is Mr. Sigler. You are DJ's biological father, Mr. What do you feel right now?
Hurt. Could have been avoided.
It could have been avoided.
I love that little boy right there. I know he's gonna be happy. You bring him out right now, he's gonna run straight to me.
This wasn't their first rodeo in Judge Lauren's courtroom. Ms. Austin was in court to prove that Mr. Wallace was definitely the father of her child, and she needed him to start taking more responsibility in being a father. Mr. Wallace, on the other hand, wasn't ready to believe any of that. He had a serious level of doubt that he couldn't be the father of the child in question.
This is your 3rd time here in our courtroom with Mr. Wallace and Ms. Roberts. Previously, you were here because Mr. Wallace questioned the paternity of your other child, but now you find yourself in the same situation. Today, you say you need to prove to Mr. Wallace that he is the father of your 9-month-old son, Ronell, so that he can begin to step up and be a father.
Judge Lauren wasn't going to hide the fact that she was pretty upset to see them back in that courtroom. The first few minutes before she dived into the case felt like a scolding session for Mr. Wallace, Ms. Austin, and Mr. Wallace's finance. I honestly wouldn't want to be in their shoes, believe me.
And the baby could potentially be yours?
Yes.
Because let me just say something, because last time I talked to you on the phone, you know I called you one day. You had your kids, you sounded so happy, you sound like you were on the right track, you said you had your kids and you all were having a great day, and I have been talking about you nonstop since then. When people ask me some of the cases that mean the most to me, you're one of the people. And so I have to say before I even start today, I'm so mad you all back up in here.
It was almost impossible to believe that this was the 3rd time this set of individuals was coming back to the courtroom to resolve the same case. As I said, it felt like a scolding session in the courtroom, and the judge was pretty disappointed in Ms. Austin because she was pregnant with her 3rd baby for Mr. Wallace. Would you imagine that?
Since the last time we was here, everything started out okay, but we all knew that wasn't gonna last long. Ronell Wallace was still bouncing back from me and Kendrelyn. I had enrolled in school, but I never did go because I had got pregnant once again with Ronell. And she got pregnant with her baby, with her son. And as you can see now, once again, I'm pregnant again with my 3rd baby.
First of all, I don't know if it's because you're nervous, Miss Austin, which, look, I wouldn't blame you if you were.
Now, Mr. Wallace had been going back and forth with both Ms. Austin and Ms. Robert, who happened to be his fiancée. The crazy thing was, he got both of these women pregnant on several different occasions. Now, if you've been having frequent sex with a particular woman and she's been having your babies, why doubt the paternity of her child when she gets pregnant for you again?
Because she's very promiscuous. When we was together, I had installed, it was like spyware on her phone. It's what they would duplicate her text messages and call log and send a copy to my email. And again, for about the 5th, 6th time, I called her texting different men.
Well, where your proof at?
You saying that didn't happen?
Where your proof at? I never saw it.
Mr. Wallace claimed he had heavy doubt that the baby could not be his because Ms. Austin was a very promiscuous woman. At least so he claimed. Trust me, he was pretty confident that she had been messing with other men. Ms. Austin wasn't going to stand and watch him talk silly about her. She was ready to drag him like a hungry lioness.
You believe she was sleeping around?
If I'm dead, so why you keep on sleeping with me? Why? 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 I'm pregnant again. Why? 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 Why?
Easy access.
Why? Right. You say that about
All
her.
right.
Yeah.
So
Why
now,
do you keep allowing me to sleep
Cool.
with
I'm gonna
you?
keep on just because I know that you with her. She's
So,
allowed.
I don't have nothing to do with that.
Yes,
If
you
you
do.
can sleep with somebody else,
Yes,
man,
you
then
do.
you got low
I know you're not talking.
Ladies,
I know you
you guys want to hear the...
Ms. Austin and Ms. Robert were going to rip each other's throat out in the courtroom. To avoid that kind of violence, Ms. Robert had to be removed. Now the argument about the looks and resemblance of the child in question came up, and Mr. Wallace felt like the baby looked like him in a way. But he wasn't going to base any of that as enough proof to be the father of the child. But Ms. Austin had evidence to counter his argument.
I feel like we have certain features, but you can't just base it all off look.
They have the same chin.
let me see that. Is that evidence you'd like to present?
Yes.
Okay. Walk me through what these pieces of evidence are. The first piece is...
The chin. You see that chin? Look at their feet.
So you say their feet are alike,
Yeah.
but they don't change your mind.
No, ma'am. It's just like you go to a police lineup. They put you in there with 6 other men who look just like you.
You could see that Ms. Austin had been through a lot with Mr. Wallace, and at this point, she just wanted to be done with him. He wasn't showing her any support for the children, and it was just heartbreaking for her to take care of the kids while she was pregnant with his baby again. It sure looks like Mr. Wallace is one heartless man, if you ask me.
The problem
Donna.
is because he said he didn't want to stay with Kinsley anymore. He wanted us to be back a family. And I did what I had to do to move into the apartment, Your Honor. I do everything for him. I stood by his side when he had his apartment. He went through a lot, and I was there by his side. Never left, and I could have left. I could have walked away. I had a family, like.
Well, it's finally time to unveil the truth after so many lies and deceptions. The day of reckoning is finally here, with everyone itching to know the truth. Are you ready to find out? I bet you are, so take a deep breath because here it comes.
Mr. Wallace, you are Ronell's father. I want to get you all some help. I have joining me today via Skype a gentleman by the name of Mr. Wright. Now, he's a social worker in Chicago, your hometown, based right there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Brace yourself, folks. This one's a doozy. Mr. Fuller and his mom are here to prove that he fathered Ms. Nelson's 2-year-old daughter, Milani. But hold on to your seats, because Ms. Nelson is certain that Mr. Fuller is not the father and is ready to prove it in court. The tension is already thick in the air.
Mr. Fuller, you and your mother are here today to prove that you fathered the defendant's 2-year-old daughter, Milani.
Yes, ma'am.
You say Ms. Nelson led you to believe.
Ms. Nelson is not holding back, folks. She boldly declares that if the DNA results prove her right, the Fullers will never see her daughter again. Wow, that's a harsh statement considering the bond they've built with little Milani. This case is about to get intense.
Ms. Nelson, you acknowledge Mr. Fuller's relationship with your daughter, but say you are now certain that he is not your child's father and will prove it in court.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Nelson, what are your intentions today if the DNA results prove you're correct?
They will never see my daughter again, and their time just has expired with my child.
Wow. That's kind of harsh considering they have a relationship with her, isn't it?
Barely.
Mr. Fuller claims to have a strong bond with Milani. He even says that Ms. Nelson would bring her to him and let her stay the night for months. But hold on a second, folks. Ms. Nelson disagrees and says it was only a few weeks. Who's telling the truth here?
You guys had her for
whenever
a few
she
weeks.
need us to do.
You had her for a few weeks.
Ms. Fuller, I need to ask you, do you believe this is your son's biological
Day one, when
child?
this girl called me, I said, "Oh, I'm a grandmother." I said,
I never
Miss
called
Miss Nelson,
I never even had the number to get in contact
I
with
wouldn't tell you no lie.
So, Miss Nelson, as you recall, how did you let Mr. Fuller know you were pregnant?
Ms. Fuller, Mr. Fuller's mom, is convinced from day one that Milani is her grandchild. She even received a call from Ms. Nelson herself saying she was pregnant. But wait, Ms. Nelson denies ever calling her. Who's telling the truth? The plot thickens.
Thing that you asked us to do for this
always
baby.
here
We're
for
there
this
for
baby.
this baby.
You guys have been there as far as now with my financial situation.
Come on,
Other than that, you guys do nothing for my child.
Let's get some order.
You do nothing for my child.
Let's get some order.
I don't know why you
don't do a
changed
thing for
all
my
of a
child.
sudden, but you never act like this with us. So I don't even know why you doing this.
Ms. Nelson claims that she let Mr. Fuller know about her pregnancy through Facebook messages. But hold on, folks. She says she never called his mom. The drama is heating up, and we're only scratching the surface.
Miss Nelson, as much as Miss Fuller is off the hook right now, I really can't blame her, because if I thought I had a grandchild, they're spending a month at my house, whatever, and then all of a sudden somebody tells me it's not my grandchild, I might be off the hook too. Why is it you believe he's not the father?
From day one, I never believed that he was the father.
Ms. Nelson reveals that she was in a relationship with another guy when she got pregnant, but guess what? She also slept with Mr. Fuller during a break with the other guy. Oh, the tangled webs we weave. Who could be the father?
5 or 6 months old, I was at work. I was with someone, in a relationship with someone, and they were...
So now at 5 months old, when the child's 5 months old, you're in a new relationship?
No, I was in a relationship before him.
Oh, before Mr. Fuller.
Me and the other guy was just on a break. So
you slept with Mr. Fuller when you were on a break from another guy.
Ms. Nelson drops a bombshell. She claims that her family member went behind her back and allowed the Fullers to have a relationship with Milani. But wait, Ms. Fuller says that they were invited to see the baby. Who's telling the truth? The truth is stranger than fiction, my friends.
Some secret, like I'm going behind her.
I didn't know. He didn't know anything.
So you think
everything was like a hush hush.
So, Miss Nelson, did you ever say, I know my mother reached out to you, that was behind my back. You're really not Milani's biological father. Did you ever say that?
I did tell them that he was not. I told Devontae that he was not her father.
We've got some evidence, folks. Mr. Fuller has brought in text messages to prove his relationship with Ms. Nelson. Oh, the drama unfolds. The messages are filled with I love yous and references to our baby. Looks like Mr. Fuller truly believed he was the father.
Do you have any proof that she told you that you were the father?
Yes, Your Honor. I got proof right here.
I'd like to see that. Ron, can you hand me that?
Yes, ma'am.
These are text messages.
Yeah.
So from Miss Nelson, I see a message that says, we made a beautiful little angel.
And we have a picture, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Fuller proudly shows a picture of himself with Milani, claiming she looks just like him. The resemblance is uncanny, but will it be enough to convince Ms. Nelson?
Next page, Devontae Fuller sends a message, beautiful BM, and then Miss Nelson sends, thanks, BD. Sounds like to me you're communicating about the baby like it's his. Now this last piece of evidence in the folder is a picture. And this is a picture of you, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, you are.
And Milani?
Yes, ma'am.
Hold on, folks. We've got a surprise guest. Ms. Johnson, Mr. Fuller's mom, takes the stand. She believes wholeheartedly that Mr. Fuller is Milani's biological father. The tension in the courtroom is palpable.
To my household, my house where I live.
But if your
We
mama,
came to the
your mama got a
come to
contract,
my house. I
called us and told us
But
to
you
come
come to my
over
house
and
while
see
I'm
the
at
baby.
work.
She was in
while
the
I'm
car
at
with
work.
She called us
while I'm at
and
work,
I
though.
told her.
Okay.
I told
But
her,
listen.
no, I don't think we should come because it's gonna cause
Okay, so
problems.
then you knew.
And she said, no, y'all gonna come and see the baby.
Okay,
I don't care.
hold on.
Ms. Johnson reveals that Ms. Nelson's family member allowed the Fullers to see the baby behind her back. Oh, the plot thickens. But Ms. Nelson argues that she never wanted the Fullers to have a relationship with Milani. This is getting intense.
Ms. Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Do you believe Mr. Fuller is Milani's biological father?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Why do you believe your daughter cannot even believe that it's a possibility that he's her biological father? What do you think this is about?
The other guy.
The other guy.
When her and the other guy get...
The court is in chaos, folks. Emotions are running high and everyone is arguing. Ms. Nelson is adamant that Mr. Fuller is not the father while the Fullers are pleading their case. Can't we all just get along?
Mr. Fuller's baby. When her and Mr. Fuller's not speaking, then it's the other guy's baby.
Oh. So she tells the other guy it's his baby too.
Well, the other guy said once before that it wasn't his baby.
So, Miss Nelson, do you believe he's not the father, or do you just not want him to be the father? Because that's two different things.
No, it's both. I don't want him.
Judge Lake steps in to restore order and get to the bottom of this paternity dispute. She questions Ms. Nelson's motives and the role her mother played in all of this. The truth is about to be revealed.
Ms. Nelson, it's borderline cruel the way you're acting. I mean, there is a part of me that truly wants to understand your position, but I can't get anything from you. I mean, they are over there crying.
She wanted a relationship with my child. I was not even gonna let her be a part. She was like, I don't care if this is not my grandbaby. I want a relationship with this child.
Judge Lake reveals an interesting piece of evidence. Ms. Nelson has Mr. Fuller listed as baby daddy Devontae in her phone. Wait a minute, if she never believed he was the father, why the nickname? The courtroom is buzzing with anticipation.
I'm feeling pressure, but it would have been my first choice if they had never had a relationship, because I do not think Mr. Fuller is my child's biological father.
That's correct.
So you feel like all of this emotion and attachment is almost by default.
And she's acting like
because I don't understand how you so angry with two people that love your child so much.
I'm not angry at them, but they have not been there. They have not been there.
The tension is at its peak as Judge Lake announces the DNA results. Will Mr. Fuller be proven to be Milani's father, or will Ms. Nelson's claims be validated? Let's find out.
Mr. Fuller, you are not her father.
I knew it. I knew who I slept with. I knew it. I knew it.
Oh, you're gonna take this baby from us.
You should apologize regardless.
It's not just my fault. You played a part in this too, because it was your fault for going behind my back, leading them on to believe that. When I knew.
Our case today revolves around Ms. Thomas and Mr. Nelson, a couple who had been together for 6 years and had 5 beautiful children. But hold on to your seats, folks, because things are about to get messy.
Ms. Thomas, you claim you spent 6 years in a relationship with the defendant, Mr. Taylor, and gave him 5 beautiful children. In return, he cheated on you and is now questioning the paternity of your youngest child, 8-month-old Jakai.
So Ms. Thomas claims that Mr. Nelson cheated on her throughout their relationship, and now he's denying paternity of their youngest child, 8-month-old Jakai. Can you believe it? 5 kids, and he's questioning the last one.
Is because he recently got married.
Is that true, Mr. Nelson?
No, it's not, Your Honor. It was good in the beginning when we first started having children, and then after that, it's like me and her started like both doing our own little thing. And we was already about to split, but she ended up getting pregnant, but at that time, she was already messing around with other guys. So I didn't know what to believe.
But wait, there's more. Mr. Nelson is now married to another woman, Ms. Campbell. Talk about a love triangle. This case has more twists and turns than a roller coaster, folks.
But I was not sleeping with different men. Mr. Nelson was the only one that I was sleeping with at the time, especially during my conception dates.
Man, that's
but when you first got together, what was your relationship like?
Our relationship, it was good. That was my best friend. We did everything together.
Take your time. I know it's hard. You have...
Your Honor, we was both young at the time.
Ms. Thomas believes that Mr. Nelson is denying their baby because he recently got married. Can you blame her for thinking that? I mean, who wants to be the other woman?
It's because it was his cheating, Your Honor. He cheated on me throughout almost our whole entire relationship.
So, Ms. Thomas, why put up with that?
We went through hard times. Like, why wouldn't you want to make something like that work with somebody you had all these years with, all these kids with, and you just want to...
That's why I don't even know this chat, like, man.
He gave up the relationship. I wish it was that easy for me.
All right, let's hear from Mr. Nelson himself. He claims that Ms. Thomas was the one who cheated on him with another man. Oh boy, it's a he said, she said situation, folks. Ms. Thomas is not backing down, though. She says that Mr. Nelson cheated on her throughout their entire relationship. Can you imagine the heartbreak? No wonder she's determined to prove paternity and win him back.
So then I left and went to North Carolina, so I was like, I'm gonna give you another chance. And she was like, all right. I said, so you're gonna delete everything out your phone and everything, change your number and everything.
So wait a minute, you had 4 children together and then you find out Ms. Thomas is with another guy?
Yes. That's
How did you find that out?
The dude picture was popping up on her phone.
It didn't start like that. He decided to leave because at that time we did grow apart.
I used to find stuff on her purse and everything. She'd be like, I'm going to work today.
Hold on, folks. We're about to hear some explosive revelations. Mr. Nelson admits to sleeping with Ms. Thomas even when he was married to Ms. Campbell. Oh, the drama. This love triangle just got even messier.
You all were in love. It was against all odds.
We were.
So what is this? Why then do you start having other men popping up on your phone?
It wasn't men. It was that one man. not men.
And why? Why did you get in a relationship with this one man? As retaliation for his cheating?
Basically. So he seen how I felt all them years he cheated on me. He felt it. And
So how long had you all been together when you discovered she was cheating?
But wait, there's more. Ms. Thomas has receipts. She shows text messages where Mr. Nelson confesses his love and desire to be with her. Oh, the plot thickens. This is like a soap opera, but even better.
Negative. So I was not pregnant. I also had an app on my phone tracking my periods when I'm ovulating, and I have it right here.
Jerome, let me see that evidence.
Man, they can't go like that. Your Honor.
So you were tracking your cycle.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's bring in Ms. Campbell, the woman caught in the middle of this love triangle. She found a video of Mr. Nelson and Ms. Thomas together. Talk about a shocking discovery. Can you imagine the emotions running through her?
You remember those dates, Mr. Nelson?
No, I do not, Your Honor. When I got back from North Carolina, I had went through her phone. She was like, every time I had sex with him, and this is after you left, I started having sex with this guy. So I was like, all right. So then I went back further in her calendar. I'm like, so what's these days for? She was like, because I said, so we was together then when he was doing it. She was like, okay, so I had a slip up.
He was gone, Your Honor.
So wait a minute, how did you find out about the other guy exactly?
Ms. Campbell confronts Mr. Nelson about the video, and he admits to his infidelity. Oh, the betrayal. Mr. Nelson's behavior is detestable, and it's tough for Ms. Campbell. But this is the kind of drama that we're here for, folks.
When you found out that your husband was now sleeping with his ex?
It's a video I found. The video is dated April 3rd, which would have been I guess the first day or so that she had showed up in Greensboro. All I know is I saw her demeanor when she came around, and she was kind of like high-stepping. I'm like, okay, this is a person that's supposedly supposed to be so hurt. Like, why is she grinning?
All right, folks, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for, the DNA results. Will Mr. Nelson be proven to be the father of 8-month-old Jakai? The tension is through the roof. Judge Lake, the floor is yours.
Mr. Nelson, you are the father. It's number 5.
I met him and he already had, 4 kids with her. So what's one more?
I'll tell you what one more is. One more means this isn't over. This child deserves to know his father. His father's gonna have to come visit him. His father is still sleeping with...
We've got Miss Nelson, who grew up believing one man was her father, only to find out there's another man listed on her birth certificate. And yes, folks, we've got yet another person named Nelson in court today. Just when she thought things couldn't get any crazier, a third man pops up on Facebook claiming to be her dad. Can you imagine the shock?
Ms. Nelson, you say you grew up believing one man was your father, yet had another man listed on your birth certificate.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then, after you turned 30 years old, a third man, the defendant, suddenly contacted you on Facebook claiming he was your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Miss Nelson explains that she visited the man listed on her birth certificate who happened to be in prison. She believed he was her dad her whole life. But then, during a trip to New York, he drops a bombshell. He tells her that her mom didn't want someone like him in her life, so she put another man's name on the birth certificate. Can you imagine the confusion and hurt she must have felt?
Today, you say you hope DNA test results will finally reveal the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Sterling.
Yes, ma'am.
You're here with your daughter and say it was she who helped you find Miss Nelson.
Yes, ma'am.
You claim today you will reveal why another man's name is on Miss Nelson's birth certificate and prove to her you are indeed her father.
Yes, ma'am.
But wait, it gets even more mind-boggling. Miss Nelson receives a message on Facebook from a man named Christopher Lancaster, claiming to be her father. She tries to call the numbers he left, but they're disconnected. Talk about a roller coaster of emotions. Who is this Christopher Lancaster, and why is he reaching out now?
It was a man that was in prison. My mother took me to visit him weekend after weekend, week after week, and this is the man I grew up knowing that he was my father. I had went to New York to visit this man for 2 weeks, and he told me that this other man was on my birth certificate because my mom didn't want somebody like him in my life.
Hold on tight, folks, because here comes the plot twist. It turns out that Christopher Lancaster is actually Christopher Sterling. That's right, he used a different name on Facebook because of some problems in his life. But get this, he claims to be Miss Nelson's real father. Can you believe it? We've got a long-lost father stepping into the picture.
Saying he's your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
I got a message from a man named Christopher Lancaster saying that I'm your dad. He was sorry for not being in my life, and he now wants to be in my life. And he left 2 numbers on there. I contacted both those numbers. Both the numbers were disconnected because it was 4 months prior that he had left me the message. It was in my others box on Facebook.
Now, Miss Nelson has never seen Christopher Sterling before in her life. She only knew the man listed on her birth certificate and the man in prison. But here he is, standing before her, claiming to be her dad. The emotions are running high, and we can't help but feel for Miss Nelson. This is a moment she's been waiting for her whole life.
Was worked.
May I see that evidence, please? Jerome, please
Yes,
hand. Thank you. Well, I know you don't know who I am, but I'm your father. I'm so sorry for all of the years I have missed you growing up. What were you thinking when you get this message?
Your Honor, honestly, I didn't even know what to think because it was like...
Oh, folks, get ready for some family drama. Miss Nelson's sister, Amberlynn Sterling, joins the courtroom. She's Mr. Sterling's daughter, and she's got some doubts about Miss Nelson being her sister. Can you imagine the tension in that room? It's like a soap opera come to life.
Did anything lead you to believe other than what you had been told?
My mom always told me that the man on my birth certificate, Vincent Nelson, was my father. This is what my mom told me, but this other man that was in prison told me that that wasn't true. He was my father.
And now, yet another message.
It's coming through from Christopher Lancaster saying this man was my father.
Mr. Sterling has been searching for his daughter for years, remembering her birthday every year and longing to be a part of her life. It's a heartwarming reminder that family bonds can be incredibly strong, even when they've been tested by time and distance.
Ms. Nelson,
yes, sure.
Your entire life, you hadn't heard of Christopher Sterling or Christopher Lancaster?
No, Your Honor. The only person I knew of was Vincent Nelson and the man who said he was my dad. Those were the only two people I knew of my entire life.
And Mr. Sterling, you're saying that this was a pretty deep relationship you had with her mother.
All right, folks, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA test results are here, and they hold the truth that will change everything. Will Mr. Sterling finally get the confirmation he's been seeking? Will Miss Nelson find the closure she's been longing for?
Mr. Sterling, you are her father. This is exactly why I get up in the morning.
All right, folks, we're diving into the case of Simmons versus Burgess. This one is a real roller coaster ride, so buckle up and get ready for some wild twists and turns. Our plaintiff, Ms. Simmons, claims that the defendant, Mr. Burgess, begged her to have his baby and then disappeared when she told him she was pregnant. But hold on tight, because Mr. Burgess has his own side of the story, and it's about to get heated.
When you told him you were pregnant. So you're here to prove to Mr. Burgess and his fiance that he is your son's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Burgess, you say your relationship with the plaintiff was just a quick fling, and Ms. Simmons wants you to take care of another man's baby. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Simmons, you are 20 years old. How did you get involved with a man that's almost twice your age?
Ms. Simmons, a 20-year-old, got involved with a man almost twice her age. They started talking online, and before you know it, things got hot and heavy real quick. And when I say quick, I mean quick.
We was talking online at first, and we was talking over the phone, and he had told me he was single and everything. And then I had came to his house and everything. And the first day I did come to the house, so we did have sex on the first day. So we just was kicking it ever since then.
Did you use protection?
We was using condoms, but they kept breaking, so we stopped using condoms.
Okay.
Within just 3 hours of meeting each other, they were already getting down and dirty. Talk about moving fast. But hey, love works in mysterious ways, right?
So if you were having sex and the condom kept breaking, how is it that you can definitively say you are not Malachi's biological father?
I had my doubts, from her coming over there the first time I seen her, and we chopped it up as soon as she came over there.
How often did you have sex, Miss Simmons?
We was always having sex.
That's not true, Your Honor. When I met online.
Now, here's where things get really spicy. These two were using condoms, but apparently they kept breaking. I mean, seriously, what are the odds? It's like they were playing Russian roulette with their contraception.
He's not telling the truth, Miss
No,
Simmons.
he lying. I was there almost every day. I was at his house all the time.
Maybe 3 times a week.
You a lie.
I was working. I wasn't leaving her in my house.
No.
So my question is, if you were having sex with her and she says the condom was continuously breaking to the point where you all just stopped using them, how is it that you can definitively say that you are not Malachi's biological father.
Mr. Burgess, on the other hand, claims that they didn't have sex as often as Ms. Simmons says. He says it was only 2 or 3 times a week for a couple of months. But hey, who are we to judge? We'll let the court decide who's telling the truth here.
Oh, you've brought an exhibit.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, step over to it, please. Let me see.
Okay. See, 3 is meaning when she came to my house, the first time she ever came to my house, it was within 3 hours of us having sex. You know, that's very quick.
Numbers don't lie, you said.
True.
Okay.
Okay. 1, the time that we actually had unprotected sex.
Now let's fast forward to the moment of truth. Ms. Simmons finds out she's pregnant and decides to break the news to Mr. Burgess. And boy, oh boy, did things take a turn. Mr. Burgess, upon hearing the news, starts questioning everything. He's like, how do you know it's mine? We need to get a DNA test. And just like that, the relationship went from hot and heavy to cold and uncertain.
You got going on with somebody else,
You know what I'm
that
saying?
did my body.
That's why I said it's a 0% chance of me being that baby father. You know what I'm saying?
So let me understand this. 3 hours after you met, you had sex.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
one day after you had that sex, she said she was pregnant.
Yes, ma'am.
So you had sex, and then the next day she says, I'm pregnant.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you say it's 4,840 days of unprotected sex. Oh,
But hold on tight, folks, because this is where it gets even juicier. Ms. Simmons starts digging into Mr. Burgess's life and finds out he's engaged to another woman. Talk about a love triangle. This is straight out of a soap opera.
You know I ain't lying.
You lying. You been lying
Look.
since you stepped here.
all right. So I want to move on to the pregnancy. Ms. Simmons, when you found out you were pregnant, did you tell Mr. Burgess?
First of all, the man asked me, even though we was having sex at the time, he was like, I want you to have my baby. I want to have a daughter because I already have a son. And I want you to have my daughter because I'm a lie.
And just when you think things can't get any crazier, Ms. Simmons confronts Mr. Burgess's fiancée, Ms. Arnold, over the phone. It's a showdown of epic proportions, and the tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
And he's like, oh, I'm just going with some homies. Lies.
Some homies.
Lies.
She lying. Not only that, Your Honor, why would I want to have a child by somebody I don't even know their name? I didn't even know this girl's real name until she told me this baby was born.
You didn't know her real name?
She told me her name was Mia. That's what all I knew, Mia.
Cause like I was like, shoot, I don't really know you like that. So I was like, you know.
Y'all lying about names and having unprotected sex?
Will Mr. Burgess step up and take responsibility for this child, or will he continue to deny his involvement? All right, folks, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA results are in, and the truth is about to be revealed.
Mr. Burgess, you are the father.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Miss Simmons, don't clown. Don't clown.
I'm sorry.
Don't clown. This is something that you needed. And Mr. Burgess, you still aren't talking. You look worried.
Enter Sheila Dennis, a young woman who has been searching for her biological father for a whopping 23 years. Can you imagine the anticipation? She's never seen him, never spoken to him, and all she has are pictures from her mother's wedding. Talk about a mystery waiting to be solved.
I requested that you meet me in my chambers because after I read your court file, I was truly touched by what I read. I realized that you've been searching for your father since you were 12 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
The man you believe.
But hold on to your hats, folks, because Mr. Dennis, the man Sheila believes to be her father, is denying it all. He claims that he is not her biological dad and that her mother misled her all these years. Oh boy, the tension is building, and we're just getting started.
But you have never seen him. You have never spoken to him. You have never heard his voice.
Not one time.
And so today will be the very first day you will do that. And I wanted to make sure you were okay and you were prepared.
I'm nervous, I really am, because all I've known of him is these pictures that I've had my entire life.
And these are
pictures of my mother.
Mr. Dennis drops a bombshell, alleging that Sheila's mother cheated on him while he was working as a truck driver. He even caught her on a boat with her ex-boyfriend. Can you believe it? The drama is reaching new heights, and we're just itching to find out what really happened.
Miss Dennis, today will be the very first day you've ever laid eyes on the man you've known to be your father.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just want to make clear that you understand that he denies that he is your biological father.
Absolutely.
All right.
Now, here's where things get really juicy. Mr. Dennis claims that he requested a DNA test, but Sheila's mother denied it. Can you imagine being in his shoes, constantly paying child support and not knowing for sure if you're the father? It's a roller coaster of emotions, folks.
And you truly believe that Mr. Dennis, who stands here at the defendant podium, is your biological father?
Correct.
Tell me what you learned and why you believe this to be true.
Well, I've had pictures my entire life. I've been looking at them since I was very little. I feel that I look exactly like him. I have his nose, his cheekbones, his eyes. My mother says that I look just like his mother when she was younger.
All right, let's hear the other side of the story. Sheila's mother couldn't be here in person, but we have her on the line. She denies cheating and insists that Mr. Dennis never asked for a DNA test. Oh, the plot thickens. We've got a he said, she said situation, and we're on the edge of our seats.
By herself on an antique wooden boat with her ex-boyfriend, while her children are up on the bank.
And so you believe your wife at the time was cheating
Yes, ma'am.
while you were on runs as a truck driver.
Yes, ma'am. Trying to make a living
How
for
soon
her and the
after
family.
that did you find out her mother was pregnant?
Wait a minute, folks. Sheila's mother claims she sent pictures to Mr. Dennis's parents, but he says he's never seen them. Can you believe it? We've got a pile of pictures right here, and Mr. Dennis is seeing them for the first time. Talk about a shocking twist.
I was living in a different state, but it would be every 2 weeks, 2 hours, supervised visitation.
And so you have never seen Ms. Dennis?
No, ma'am,
in
I have
person.
not till today.
This young woman who has believed her entire life that you're her biological father, you were married to her mother,
Yes, ma'am.
you have never laid eyes on her.
Never have.
Until this day, this moment.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, folks, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Sheila and Mr. Dennis come face to face for the very first time. The emotions are running high, and there's not a dry eye in the house. It's a mixture of relief, regret, and a whole lot of love. Grab your tissues, folks, because this is a tearjerker.
That you did not have sexual relations with this person while you were married to Mr. Dennis.
Absolutely. I never had sexual relations with anyone but the man I was married to.
Ms. Dennis, have you ever heard anything about this other man? That there be another possibility?
All right, folks, it's time to reveal the results of the DNA test. Will Mr. Dennis be proven to be Sheila's biological father, or will it be another shocking twist? The tension is unbearable, and we're holding our breaths.
Mr. Dennis, you are the father.
I'm sorry for all the wasted years.
You don't have to thank me. They call me Your Honor, but it is truly my honor. You now have the truth, and you know now that the denial doesn't have to be there.
Right.
You know that you can have a relationship with your daughter. You can be there for her.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn and get comfy because things are about to get real. Miss Fisher claims that her mother, Miss Johnson, raised her without ever revealing who her biological father really is. Can you believe it? How can you not know who your own daddy is?
Keeping all of this away from you and having to come out like this.
You voluntarily said, I am the father?
I always felt she was my daughter.
You said you deceived both of them.
You're admitting you just made a huge mistake.
If you have kids, listen to them. They're trying to tell you something.
Who's the father?
I deserve to know who my father is. There is a lot of doubt here.
Don't block them out and don't ignore it. Deal with it.
Whoa.
Hello, Your Honor. This is a case of Fisher versus Johnson.
Thank you, Jerome.
You're welcome.
But wait, it gets even crazier. Miss Fisher's mother had not one, but two potential fathers in the picture. Talk about a complicated love triangle.
That answer because both men have been tested and we will meet them shortly. Now, Ms. Johnson, you argue that you've always had doubts about your daughter's paternity, but since both potential fathers have taken part in her life, you feel Ms. Fisher should just be grateful for what she had.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Fisher, tell us, why do you disagree with your mother's position?
Miss Fisher is determined to find out the truth, and who can blame her? She's been living in the dark for far too long. It's time to shine a light on this paternity mystery. Miss Fisher grew up believing that Mr. Fisher was her father. Can you imagine finding out at the age of 10 that there might be someone else out there who could be your dad? What a bombshell.
At 10 years old, John comes around
And that's Mr. Fisher.
Mr. Fisher. He comes around to a birthday party, and she says, "This is your goddad." About 2 weeks into that, he's coming, picking me up for little day-to-day outings, but I can't understand it as a 10-year-old child. Until 2 months after that, she tell me that this is my dad. As a third grade, over the intercom, I've learned that my name was changed to Fisher.
Wait a minute.
And get this, folks. Miss Fisher's mom didn't just drop this bombshell on her out of the blue. No. She casually introduced Mr. Fisher as her goddad first. Can you believe that?
Evidence?
Yes, he went down there and got my last name changed. My
Well,
last
let me
name
see
was
that.
Brooks. He changed it to Fisher. And this, she said she didn't know, but
Well,
she
I
had to
knew
be there.
Well, I
in
was
order-
there to get the name changed. Exactly. This is how it all came
So
about.
this is your birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
It originally had one man's name,
Exactly.
and now it's been changed to Fisher.
And I feel like I
With
shouldn't have.
John.
I mean, seriously, who does that? Hey, honey, this is your goddad, but oh, by the way, he might actually be your real dad. What a way to confuse a poor kid. But the plot thickens, my friends. Miss Fisher's mom even went as far as changing her last name to Fisher without her knowledge. Can you imagine finding out your name has been changed over the school intercom? Talk about a shocker.
Saying that when she was with him one time and backdating to my conception date, here you go.
How do you know how many times I was with somebody with?
Because you said you was with him one time.
So let me take a look. You've prepared a calendar that outlines
The conception of my year of when she would have got pregnant with me.
So in yellow, the dates are highlighted where your mom was intimate with Mr. Triplett.
Exactly.
Now let's meet the two potential fathers, Mr. Fisher and Mr. Triplett. Buckle up because things are about to get even more complicated. Mr. Fisher claims that he always believed Miss Fisher was his daughter. He even saw her as a baby and had that special connection. But why didn't Miss Johnson ever explicitly tell him? The suspense is suffocating.
What they were told and what they know, because this is confusing, Miss Fisher.
Especially
I'm
for her.
confused right with you. Hello, sir.
Hello, Judge.
Now, Mr. Fisher,
Yes, ma'am.
you now contend that this beautiful young lady, Miss Fisher, is your daughter.
Yes.
But for the first 10 years of her life, you weren't there.
I was there, but I wasn't there to walk her through her way as a young woman.
On the other hand, we have Mr. Triplett, who lived with Miss Johnson for 7 years and believed Miss Fisher was his daughter all along. Can you imagine the shock when he found out he might not be her biological father?
Me and Calvin, I'm sorry for keeping all of this away from you and having to come out like this.
You're admitting you just made a huge mistake.
If you have kids, listen to them. They're trying to tell you something.
You don't really know which one is truly your biological father.
Before we get to the results, let's take a moment to appreciate Miss Fisher's courage and determination. She's been searching for the truth for so long, and now it's finally within her grasp. But will she finally know the truth, or will it slip away again?
Saying you were not attempting to get child support from two men at the same time for one child.
It was very upsetting to hear that.
You don't really know which one is truly your biological father.
If you have kids, listen to them. They're trying to tell you something.
There is a lot of doubt here.
The tension is building, folks. It's time to reveal the results and put an end to this paternity mystery once and for all. It's time for Miss Fisher to find out who her real father is and start building that father-daughter relationship she'd been longing for. Will it be Mr. Fisher, who has always believed he was her father? Or will it be Mr. Triplett, who lived with Miss Johnson for years and thought he was her dad? The moment of truth is here.
That her father is Mr. Triplett.
I still love you, baby. Don't nothing change, Calvin. You've
Mr.
been down here this
Triplett?
long, man.
Yes,
Are you happy today? You said that you wanted her to be your daughter.
yes, I always thought she was. Me and Mary had just had a baby the year before. And like I said, we were living together 7 years.
Miss Percival Hanson has spent the last 31 years of her life desperately seeking acceptance from her father. But here's the twist. Mr. Hanson, the alleged dad, is having none of it. He's claiming he never slept with Ms. Percival's mother, and there's no way she could be his daughter. Oh boy, this is gonna be good.
No, she existed.
He told me your mother was a whore and sleeping with somebody else in the backseat of a car.
He is the father. She don't even look like me. Damn drama queen.
I went to older guys looking for the void that my mother never gave me. You not being there has affected me more than you know.
I know for a fact you're not my daughter.
But I need answers.
Get the test out and we'll prove it.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Percival Hanson versus Hanson.
But wait, there's more. Just when you thought things couldn't get any messier, another young woman and her mother enter the courtroom, claiming that Mr. Hanson is her father too. Talk about a bombshell. Now we've got two women fighting for the same man's attention. This is like a real-life soap opera, folks.
Mr. Hanson, you claim you did not sleep with Miss Percival's mother at the time she was conceived, and there is no way she is your daughter.
That's right, Your Honor. She's not my daughter.
Additionally, there is yet another young woman waiting outside of the courtroom claiming Mr. Hanson is her father. She will be joining us shortly, accompanied by her mother. So, Miss Percival, please share with the court why you feel Mr. Hanson has rejected.
Ms. Percival steps up to the podium and she's not holding back. She tells the court how her father has rejected her entire life, refusing to take a DNA test and denying her existence. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. But Mr. Hanson isn't backing down either. He's confident that he never cheated on his wife and that there's no way Ms. Percival could be his daughter. The tension is palpable and we're just getting started.
Why is it you deny her?
I was married with another woman at the time. There's no way. Me and the other woman that I was in a relationship with was having a baby. And I don't cheat.
Oh,
when I'm
yeah.
with somebody, I stay with somebody. I just got out of a 20-year marriage. I was with the woman 20 years, never cheated on her.
You're in a marriage
Yes.
And you say you never cheated on your wife.
Yeah, that's right.
Now it's time for Ms. Vilpando to take the stand. She spills the tea, revealing that she was indeed intimate with Mr. Hansen while he was still married. Oh, the plot thickens. And guess what? She even drops a bombshell of her own, claiming that Mr. Hansen called Ms. Percival's mother a whore. Yikes, things just went from bad to worse.
I was 6 years old.
At 6 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
And from that point on, you had in your mind, this is your father. But he's never established a real relationship with you.
No, I barely met him personally 2 months ago at Teresa's house.
My other daughter, which that's a 50-50 chance too. That's a different story.
Oh, and there's another surprise in store. Mr. Hansen's ex-wife and the daughter she had with him enter the courtroom. This is like a full-blown family reunion, folks. Ms. Merchant, the ex-wife, wastes no time in declaring that she knew Ms. Percival was her husband's daughter from the moment she was born. Oh, the drama is off the charts.
That's a lie. I was never with her after we split up, after our first daughter was born.
Miss Percival, let me ask you, did you know Mr. Hansen growing up?
No, ma'am. He wasn't even in my sister Jessica's life. He took off.
No, I didn't take off.
Yes,
I was
he did.
refused to see my daughter.
No, you refused
But I
yourself.
never got to, I didn't even know she was even around until she was like 12 or 13 years old. I didn't even know she existed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was through my other brother.
Now it's time for the moment of truth. The first set of DNA test results are in, and the tension in the courtroom is unbearable. Will Mr. Hansen be proven wrong, or will he have to face the consequences of his actions?
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
I can't wait for the child support.
Huh?
Hold on 1 second before you say what you have to say. State your name for the court.
Tracy Merchant.
You're Ms. Merchant, and your name?
I'm Teresa Hansen.
All right. So, Ms. Merchant, you were married to Mr. Hansen.
Yes.
At the time that Miss Percival was conceived.
Yes, I knew that she was born. I knew she was his when she was born.
All right, folks, here it is. The results are in, and Mr. Hansen, you are the father of Ms. Hansen. Oh, snap. The courtroom erupts in cheers, and Ms. Percival finally gets the validation she's been seeking for all these years. This is a moment that will go down in paternity court history, but we're not done yet.
You knew this was your father, and he never said he denied you were his child. You just felt like he didn't treat you.
No, he did tell me that he thought that my uncle or somebody in the family was my biological father.
When did he tell you this?
Could be, I said.
Probably around 11.
When you were 11? So you grew up not knowing if your father...
There's still one more result to reveal. The tension is still thick in the air as the judge announces that it's time to determine the paternity of Ms. Percival. Will Mr. Hansen's doubts be proven right, or will he have to face the consequences of his actions once again? Let's find out.
Mr. Hansen, you are her father.
No,
Yeah.
I love you too. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're most certainly welcome. You seem relieved, Mr. Hansen.
Yes, that's the only one I was worried about. I apologize. I don't mean to be inconsiderate or ruthless.
Buckle up, folks, because in today's episode, we have Mr. Campbell going head-to-head with his ex-girlfriend, Miss McKeer. And let me tell you, this case is a roller coaster ride of emotions and accusations. Get ready for the drama to unfold.
I saw her in her bra and panties in a room with another man. He was sitting on the edge of that bed.
No, he wasn't. He was sitting on the bench.
He was afraid. He was terrified.
He was
when
not
he seen me
terrified.
walk in that room.
He was terrified.
He was terrified.
Jerome, are you terrified of Mr. Campbell?
Ooh. I told you on multiple occasions that we do not have to have a relationship.
All right.
That's not what you said last night.
Mr. Campbell storms into the courtroom like a hurricane. He's accusing Miss McKeer of being a gold digger and a cheater. Oh, the drama is already off the charts, and we're just getting started. This is going to be one wild ride.
Whose goal is to pin her 9-month-old son legacy on you for her own personal gain. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. McSeer, you say Mr. Campbell is a compulsive liar who's denying your son out of spite because you no longer want to be with him. You claim to know exactly when and where your son was conceived, and you intend to prove paternity today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Picture this, folks. Mr. Campbell barges into Miss McKeer's house and catches her in her bra and panties with another man. Oh, the scandal. The tension in that room must have been thicker than molasses. This case is heating up faster than a hot potato.
You expect me to think we're in an exclusive relationship?
Any proof of this?
That makes no
Any
sense.
proof of this?
You know it's the truth.
This is part of your habitual lying.
You know it's the truth, Mariah.
Not at all.
One day she went out and I saw her in her bra and panties in a room with another man. When I came to the house, I came to come get some stuff, and when I came to that house, it was a random car sitting in that driveway.
Mr. Campbell claims he's seen Miss McKeer talking to different men and even sending them explicit pictures. Talk about a plot twist. The drama just keeps on coming, and we're here for every juicy detail.
Your Honor, she is known for sleeping with married men. She is known for that. She is known for being a home wrecker. She is known for breaking up happy homes. That's the type of person that she is, Your Honor.
Really?
She says I'm the compulsive liar, but no, she's the compulsive liar.
You're definitely the compulsive liar.
She's the compulsive liar.
You say Ms. McSear was at her house with her shirt off with another man, and she admits it. So you come in there and what happened?
Hold on to your hats, folks, because Miss McKeer drops a bombshell. She says she knows exactly when she conceived her son, Legacy, and it was during Hurricane Irma. Can you believe it? When the lights were out and the storm was raging, love found a way. This case is as stormy as that night.
So you had heard that she would be with married men?
Yes.
Okay. And then you believe one of them could potentially be Legacy's biological father.
Yes,
I know when I conceived. I know when I conceived.
So you say you know when you conceived?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you know this, Miss McSear?
Because in September of 2017, Hurricane Irma hit. At that time, we were staying together.
Mr. Campbell comes prepared with some spicy evidence. He shows the court pictures of not one, not two, but 4 different men. He holding Legacy. 4 people. And guess what? None of them are him. Oh, the suspense is killing us. Who's the real baby daddy? This case is turning into a game of musical chairs.
With me and my kids.
Because I had money, and that's all you wanted. You
got so much money but no stability. Sounds real. Sounds like a person I want to pin a baby on.
Because no, you took everything from me.
Okay.
So, Ms. McSear, I want to be clear. That was the week you say you conceived, and you remember it because of the hurricane.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's see if we can confirm that. So, first, I want to look up the date of this hurricane to see if you know what you're talking about.
Brace yourselves, folks, because this case just took a wild turn. Mr. Campbell claims he heard through the grapevine that Miss McKeer had a paternity test done with another man. What? Is this true? Did she really doubt Mr. Campbell's paternity? The tension is through the roof.
Sears bed.
Yes, Your Honor, I do remember that, yes.
Okay.
I do remember. But the conception time it doesn't add up, Your Honor.
Why doesn't it add up to you? Explain.
She told me she got pregnant around the end of September, not the beginning.
Lucky for you all, I have my conception calculator and we can get down to the bottom of that too.
The courtroom is a battlefield as Mr. Campbell and Miss McKeer face off. Accusations are flying left and right, and the drama is reaching its boiling point. It's a verbal showdown of epic proportions. This case has more twists and turns than a pretzel factory, and we just got to the final twist, the DNA test results.
Mr. Campbell, you are the father. You're the father. That is your beautiful baby. Why does it make you feel so emotional?
Because she won't let me be in his life. Like, she hates me so much. That's why I cry. Because, like, I want to be in my son's life, like my dad was in my life.
In this episode, we meet Mr. Quarles, a man who claims he's been paying child support for a child he's convinced is not his. Can you imagine the financial shambles he's in? I mean, his checks are only $40 to $50 every 2 weeks. Whew, that's rough.
So you didn't have morals when you was opening your legs.
You put him on child support.
Yes, ma'am.
How do I get put on child support? I ain't signed no birth certificate. I ain't doing,
You don't pay your child support, you can go to jail.
They might just send me to jail for 6 months.
It's his.
It was just a one-night stand.
You asked the court to administer a lie detector test?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you intimate with any other person?
Not that I can recall.
What did you say, Miss Forrester?
But hold on tight, folks, because Ms. Forrester, the child's mother, is 100% certain that Mr. Quarles is the father. She even put him on child support, and they've been fighting about it ever since. Talk about a messy situation.
To a one-night stand, you are now in financial shambles caused by child support for a child you don't believe is yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Forrester, you initially claimed Mr. Quarles was not your daughter's father, but you are 100% certain that he is. And when proven, you expect him to financially support her.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Quarles, explain to me, how has this child support issue?
Now get this, Mr. Quarles claims he never even knew he was put on child support until a letter arrived at his old house. Can you believe it? How does that even happen? And to top it off, he wasn't even on the birth certificate.
He just stay at that I had to go to court. I never knew that. It was a month later. The next thing I know, I'm getting put on child support. I just want to know, how do they do that? I mean, how do you not, you not show up for something because it was, the mail went to somewhere to the other house, but how do I get put on child support support, and I ain't signed no birth certificate. I ain't doing.
Well, you were named the father by default because you didn't show up to court.
So Ms. Forrester initially told everyone, including Mr. Quarles' wife, that he wasn't the father. Oh boy, talk about a tangled web of lies and deceit. This case is heating up, folks.
Take child support from your check. They garnished your wages. That's how it happens. Did you appear in court ever?
Yeah.
Did you request a DNA test?
Yes.
And you were what, denied?
Denied.
He didn't request a DNA test till 2 years ago. Because I asked the child support for a DNA test. They said no, that he has to be the one to ask for it.
Are you up to date on this child support?
No, ma'am.
No.
You don't make enough money to pay this child support.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about their relationship. Mr. Quarles and Ms. Forrester were co-workers, and things started to get a little spicy when he flirted with her and asked for her phone number. Ooh la la! Can you feel the drama building?
How often were you having sex with her?
It was just a one-night stand, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
One time.
It was not, ma'am. I took a lie detector test.
Wait, you're saying that it was more than one time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you asked the court to administer a lie detector test?
Yes, ma'am.
Jerome, do we have those results?
Yes, we do.
So you volunteered
Yes.
for a lie detector test because you say you had sex with him more than once?
Yes, ma'am.
And guess what? Courtroom commentators. They didn't just have a one-night stand. Nope, it went on for 3 whole months. Oh, the plot thickens. But here's the kicker. Mr. Quarles claims it was only a one-time thing. Who's telling the truth here?
You said yes, and the lie detector determined that was the truth. Mr. Quarles, maybe you need to rethink this relationship.
She may not know who she was sleeping with and just called them all Yuri, since she's saying she only was with one black man, but other black men at the same job.
To settle the score, Mr. Quarles took a lie detector test to prove that he only had sex with Ms. Forrester once. Can you believe it? The results are in, and we're in for a shocker. Ms. Forrester's told everyone, including Mr. Quarles' wife, that he was the father. Oh, the drama. But when confronted, she denied it. What a roller coaster of emotions.
What was his response?
First.
No, I told Yuri first. He came over that night and I showed him 5 different pregnancy tests.
No, that's a lie.
And you told him?
I told him that I was pregnant, and he said that he takes care of his, not to worry.
No, the whole workplace, she's going around telling everybody that I'm the father, and that's how she found out. She told me that I was the baby's father.
All right, folks, it's time for the moment of truth. The lie detector results are in, and let me tell you, it's about to get real. Drum roll, please.
At your job?
At my job.
Why did you lie to her when she asked you point blank, is this child Mr. Quarles?
I didn't want to break up their relationship.
But you could sleep with him.
Guess what? It's a two-way street.
She says she overheard you saying to someone that it was not his child.
That's not true.
I don't have to get up here and lie. It's a kid involved.
Exactly.
In the case of Quarles versus Forrester,
the lie detector determined that Ms. Forrester was telling the truth when she said she had slept with Mr. Quarles more than once. Can you believe it? The plot just thickened and the drama floodgates were open.
he is biracial.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so that's why you keep trying to pinpoint some other black guy. Why did you lie to her when she asked you point blank, is this child Mr. Quarles?
I didn't want to break up their relationship.
But you could sleep with him.
He slept with me. Guess what? It's a two-way street.
But hold on to your seats, folks, because Mr. Quarles still insists that it was only a one-night stand. Oh, the tension is palpable. Who's telling the truth? We're about to find out.
I didn't want to hurt your feelings either. You seem like a pretty nice lady. Why would I want to say he was sleeping with me?
And again, if I'm a nice lady.
I said you seem like a nice lady.
How do you have morals all of a sudden? So you didn't have morals when you was opening your legs, but
he can't have morals when he's sleeping with me. He has no morals.
But let me ask you this, Ms. Forrester. So since you worked together, when you started sleeping with him, you knew they were in a relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let's bring in Mr. Quarles' mother, who overheard Ms. Forrester saying it might not be her son's child. Can you imagine the shock and disbelief? This case just keeps getting crazier by the minute.
Yeah, because you have so
trying to get
much
some of that money
that I want, Mr. Quarles.
So I'm telling you.
What money is this?
I mean,
at the time he was in a record deal, and
really, I didn't know he was in a record deal. That's not why I slept with him. That's for sure.
While you're having this child, is Mr. Quarles helping you, participating in the pregnancy? Was he there at the birth?
No.
Nothing.
All right, folks, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA test results are in, and this is where the rubber meets the road. Judge Lake has the envelope in her hands, and we're about to get some answers.
Mr. Quarles, you are the father.
Well, it makes me happy. I would like to see her. I like visitation rights, everything.
No.
What did you say, Miss Forrester?
I said no.
So now you don't want them to be a part of your child's life?
My daughter's 4. She has a dad.
All right, folks, let's meet our main players in this courtroom drama. We've got Mr. Johnson, who thought he was the father of little Dakari, and Miss Owens, who initially led Mr. Johnson to believe he was the daddy. But hold on tight, because things are about to take a wild turn.
You say to yourself, oh my goodness, this could be my child's father that passed away.
It was never in my mind that he was my baby daddy. This little fella was in my mind.
How could you not think that he could have been your baby's father?
I remember that. Pipe down, little one.
You had sex, so how could that not be in your mind?
Sit, doggy.
How could that not be in your mind?
Both of you look like a fool. And a child sitting up here and don't know if his father's here or in a grave. You clowning.
Hello, Your Honor. This is a case of Johnson versus Owens.
Thank you, Jerome.
You're welcome.
So, it turns out Miss Owens had a little secret she was keeping from Mr. Johnson. She slept with another man, Mr. Tyson, around the time of conception. But here's the kicker. Mr. Tyson is now deceased. Can you believe it? Talk about a plot twist. Now, Miss Owens wants Mr. Tyson's family members to take a DNA test to determine if he is the real father. Drama, drama, drama.
But you recently learned that Miss Owens slept with another man who is now deceased around the time of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Owens, you claim that at the time you were pregnant, you believed the baby was Mr. Johnson's, but as he got older, you were worried that he looked like Mr. Tyson.
Oh boy, tensions are running high in this courtroom. Mr. Johnson is feeling betrayed, claiming Miss Owens misled him about being the father. And Miss Owens, well, she's not holding back either. These two are going at it like cats and dogs, folks.
Hoping that it is her grandchild because her son is deceased. And I don't want him to be the father of my child because he's not going to be a father anyway.
So, Mr. Johnson, why is this so important to you?
Well, I feel like I've been misled, you know? She was telling me, you know, 1 minute that, oh yeah, you're the father. Then the next minute she telling me, a couple years down the line, that I'm not the father, you know? I'm kind of confused here. I don't know what to think.
You lying.
How am I
Ms.
lying?
Owens, did you tell him at any point?
Just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, in walks Mr. Tyson's mother, Ms. Tyson. She's here to find out if little Dakari is her grandchild. Talk about a heartfelt moment. We can't wait to see how this all unfolds.
Had this discussion.
Yes.
The baby got a little older. You felt like he started looking like the other potential father, and so you had a heart-to-heart. You all put it all on the table.
He knew that I slept with Dwayne. That ain't no secret.
Yeah, I didn't know before you told me though.
Ms. Owens, you submitted to the court split-screen images of Mr. Johnson and your son Dakari. And then you also submitted a picture.
The judge is not messing around today, folks. She's laying down the law and demanding some order in this courtroom. And honestly, with all the shouting and name-calling, it's about time someone put a stop to it. Let's see if the judge can bring some sanity to this chaotic situation.
And it was at this point you determined maybe Mr. Tyson could be the father.
That's right, Your Honor.
She knew that all along though. That's the whole point. I'm trying.
No, I did not.
At some point, you two were in a relationship, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
You got pregnant. He was at the hospital. Mr. Johnson was at the hospital.
And
for
I
the
paid for him to
though.
come to the hospital. I bought his
sorry?
ticket. I paid for him to come back.
All right, folks, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA results are in. Will Mr. Johnson be the father, or will it be the deceased Mr. Tyson? Will Mr. Johnson finally get the answer he's been waiting for? Will Miss Owens find closure for herself and Mr. Tyson's family? We're about to find out, folks.
Mr. Johnson, you are not his father.
There it is, right there. I already knew it from the beginning though, man. All thing she had to do was come out and tell me, you know?
I have the next set of results here. The probability of relatedness is 99.99%.